The impact of accepting NFC transactions on the iPhone. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by New Relic. Monitor, debug, and improve your entire stack. Get access to the whole New Relic platform and 100 gigabytes of data free forever. No credit card required. Sign up at newrelic.com/MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Truebill. Get control of your subscriptions at truebill.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is the third and final part in a varied MacVoices Live conversation, but this time we pick up in a very spirited discussion about Apple's decision to accept NFC transactions on the iPhone. And if you thought the panel was passionate before, get ready. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
We have been talking about this way too vague. We have danced around the whole thing, and here's what this is. Apple has opened up the hardware on the iPhone so that Stripe, as their first partner, or first company that's signed on, Square, and any other of the other mobile transaction services can use the iPhone in lieu of the hardware that companies already need to have in place to be able to process a credit card or to take Apple Pay. That's all this is. Apple is saying, hey, you don't have to get a separate dongle to use that Stripe or Square account. You can use the phone you already have. So whoever it was in our private chat that said farmers markets are going to love this, yes. Yeah. Because now all of these vendors that go out to events, they don't have to remember to bring the stupid dongle with them, so that they can have people tap a card or tap an iPhone or an Android phone. Yes. This is for vendors like Square and Stripe.
Plus, it always needs service too. That those dongles. I don't know if this is going to be different on, kind of like with Apple Pay, where you don't need to actually have service.
You'll still need your service, because all they're doing is replacing the dongle hardware in the mix.
Yeah,
that's
they're just taking.
So actually, I think this makes sense, because I don't know about you guys, but in the before COVID times, when we go to different fairs or festivals, if you buy something, it seemed like half the time the Square device or something wasn't working. So oh, do you have cash? No, we don't. I don't want to pay by credit card. Then they have to go talk to somebody else, in the other booth, and get another phone and another device. So it seems like the Square devices have had reliability problems. So hopefully this will improve the overall experience, because we know iPhones are pretty damn reliable. So
although we always try to take, I was just telling you about my NFC reader not working.
Okay, Jay, I want you in.
This isn't going to work. And it's, I have two reasons why this isn't going to work. One, anytime Apple does something that involves money that wasn't like NFC, like touchless payments, people forget about it. When was the last time a relative of yours sent you money through messages via Apple Pay? Okay, that's my first reason.
Not enough.
Weeks ago?
That's not what this is for.
Whoa, one at a time.
I don't think that enough people are going to hear about this, because the companies that will rely on this, Square, they're not going to want you to do this, because that means they lose some money. Apple is not going to do this for free. Apple is going to take some type of charge. These companies have no reason to promote this whatsoever. The other reason why it's not going to work is most people that would benefit from this don't do things, we'll say, legitimately. Case in point, I know of a company that hauls trash, and said company used Venmo. The IRS announced, hey, you're going to have to report your Venmo payments. Guess what that company stopped accepting? We talk about farmers markets and all these groups. Yes, if you go to LA and you go to the farmers market outside of Whole Foods, I'm sure that everyone there will have their 1099s and everything else ready to go. But if you go to the side of the road where there's a fruit stand and you want to get fruit, they're going to say, I'm sorry, cash only. And this isn't
that doesn't have anything to do with that doesn't have anything to do with Apple Pay or Apple Pay Cash or Venmo or anything else. Like that was never going to be the case. But for people like like my taco place, like this eliminates a friction point for them with the broken reader or the adapter not working, because I've had them have to plug it in a couple of times to get it to work and actually swipe my card and things like that. So like in a lot of places, all this is going to do is eliminate the middleman. And instead of swiping the thing or tapping it on the Apple Pay block, like I can just tap it straight to the phone and have the phone take care of the entire thing. It eliminates a support thing for people who don't necessarily want or need to do tech support on why they can't get money from people. And it's going to just make it easier for people to be a Stripe customer or be a Square customer. So yeah, they'll lose a little money on the hardware, but they were giving away those swipey readers for free, and it's only $30 for the Apple Pay block in order to take contactless payments. So they're not going to lose a huge amount because they're going to make all of that up in the number of new customers they end up with, because you don't even have to have the thing anymore in order to take credit cards at your food cart.
But how many Kellys are in the world that are going to tell these companies that? And also, what's the incentive of the parent company, that's Square, that's Stripe, to do this if Apple is going to ask for a cut? And I don't know if Apple is asking for a cut or not. I want to know this.
We're just multiplying uncertainties.
One at a time, guys. One at a time.
Sorry, just real fast. Venmo is easy. They have codes. You take your phone and one person could add their card to Venmo. And I mean, listen, I have people who can't figure out how to open up their front door that could Venmo me. So it's not rocket science, and people could scan with their camera and you have a barcode. PayPal is not rocket science, and this is literally doing almost exactly the same thing, except instead of scanning something or typing something, you're just tapping your phone together. So, I mean, it's really not that much different than peer-to-peer payments that we do through either scanning something or using iMessage or Facebook Messenger or whatever we're doing.
I got to say, Jay, you make some good points. I think that Apple, you're right, Apple won't do this for free. On the other hand, I use Apple Pay I use Apple Pay, that's the right phrase, all the time. And Apple's making their money in connection with the back end, with the credit card company. So I'm not paying any more to use Apple Pay than I do if I pull out a MasterCard or Visa, or if I pull out cash.
So unless Apple says that they're not going to charge the provider, but they're going to charge the credit provider instead. So if they say, hey, Stripe, you get this for free, and don't worry, we'll make our money from Visa, American Express, whoever, then that's one thing. I don't see them doing this. I see them saying, hey, Stripe, we'll do this. By the way, we're going to want 15%.
They're not going to ask for 15%.
And also, or whatever they offer. And then on top of that, Stripe, now you still have to also get charged by that credit card provider as well.
So right now,
companies get charged by taking credit card transactions.
Right. I mean, that's why there's a 50-cent fee if you use a debit card or whatever at a lot of places. But
or Amex is more too.
How much
people use Amex? Companies have to pay more for that. So if it comes to a point where everybody's taking a piece of this transaction, then nobody's going to do it.
How much does Apple get on an Apple Pay transaction now?
That's not known. Probably
I don't think they get anything for it.
I think it's speculated. It's like a point, 20 basis points.
I don't want speculated. I want to know if no
one knows
exactly. We don't have the number. So
no one knows exactly. So the industry things that you look at, indicated it's sort of like 0.2%.
Apple.
Well, the thing I'm curious about here though is not necessarily Apple's not in this
0.15%, Kelly.
Okay.
Apple's cut is reportedly approximately 0.15% of each purchase.
But reportedly, I want the actual number and nobody has it. That's all I wanted to know. So we don't know what they're getting now. So this may end up being the same sort of thing where maybe, like when Apple does this, Apple's getting it out of the piece that would normally go to Visa or Amex or MasterCard or whoever. We don't know. And we haven't heard Apple say anything about it one way or the other. All this is eliminating the piece of hardware that a lot of people have had a hard time with, and it makes giving people money a better experience. And if it's easier for me to buy tacos, I am never going to complain about that. If Google had done this, I'd be cheering for that just as loudly. Yay. I'm excited that it makes it easier for more people to be in business and accept that money in an easy way that is contactless. And if more people can do that, so much the better. I will never be mad about that.
And I don't
this is such a typical Apple move. It's incrementally adding value on top of their platform. And could they have done this 2 years ago? Probably not, because it didn't have the sufficient infrastructure in place. We will see. Jay decided it's going to fail. I don't know what proof would change his mind, but we'll find out 2-3 years from now. Because somebody will obviously ask about it on an Apple earnings call.
I'm not saying it's going to fail. I'm not saying it's going to fail. I'm saying it's going to be one of those things that gets just shuffled into Apple services, and we never know how much money it actually makes.
Yeah, we'll never hear about it. But Jay, like you said, who's going to be the Kelly that tells the world about it? Like, I don't think you're going to have to. Like, nobody had to tell the world about Apple Pay once it started getting together. Like, it just started expanding, and so I think this is going to end up slowly starting out, but I think it's going to end up doing the same thing, where lots of places are going to be able to do it as soon as they find out they don't have to buy another piece of hardware to make it happen.
David,
right? Or they don't have to buy another one now that the thing they bought is finally broken. Oh, I can just take out my iPhone. This is going to be. I agree with you, Jay. I think you said this is slow to take off.
David, your background has changed dramatically in the last 30 seconds.
David.
Yeah. Well, what my point was going to be is there are some people who don't like to use Apple Pay. Okay, this is a device. This is now an option. You have it in your iPhone, built in. It's linked to your credit card. Be done. Just like when you have a credit card, the credit cards have the little, the bars on it. It's got the little wire bar on it. You can go up, like say, go to a gas pump. I've done it. You put your card up to that little reader, and it electronically reads it. This is just same or similar technology. So the fact of the matter is, me as a consumer being able to go to a vendor and they can set up their phone through Stripe or through Square or whoever, and me be able to go up to their phone, use my phone, and make the transaction. Like Kelly said, this is something really game changing. I think it's going to make things a lot easier, more efficient. You go into your taco truck or any of these food trucks. Think about tons of food trucks here in Chicago area. I mean, how much easier it's going to be for them not to have a Square device or any of these other devices that they use to accept these payments. I mean, gas stations too. They're going to be able to do stuff like that. You can just go and you use your phone. Your phone's got the NFC. You go right up to the terminal. You don't have to do it. Not Apple Pay. I mean, not everybody likes Apple Pay. This is going to be a nice alternative to that. And NFC is a standard thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing with people with Android devices. People using Android, they want to be able to do the same thing. There's so many other options here now, and it's, if anything, we were so locked into Apple Pay. Yeah, we're all fans of Apple. We all like. I think most of us here, not all of us, like Apple Pay. And now you have an option and not have to be tied down to Apple Pay if you so choose not to.
Jim, you're in next.
Okay, this doesn't have anything to do with Apple Pay. First,
right.
What this is
right. Separate.
What this is the iPhone will be able to be used as a contactless credit card reader.
Right.
Okay, we've all been, well, actually, I don't think I ever have used one, but supposedly, our new credit cards, forget the phone, just the credit card, has a chip in it. And now, I guess most of the places where you could use Apple Pay, you can just take your credit card and tap it on the device, at the 7-Eleven or at the gas station or whatever. So you don't have to tap your phone or your watch. You can just tap the credit card.
Right there. That
yeah,
will go right there.
There you go, right there. Okay. So, I've seen some gas stations now have that where you can just tap, and some, bakeries and some things like that. Okay. So what this is saying is a vendor could, instead of buying, some special hardware, they can just use their phone to tap. There's not going to be a charge, because that would never, to Apple. Apple can't get a cut of this, because no vendor would do that. Why would they do that? They can already buy contactless readers that have no service fee on them. So there's no way somebody's going to be able to come along and sell a device that would require a service fee. Stripe would never, do a deal like this. There's no acceptance. It's just like if somebody wants to set up a Stripe account and do this, you don't go to the market and say, what kind of cash register do you have? I'm not going to use my credit card unless you have a, Telco Model 3 credit card, cash register. Who cares? If somebody says, here, tap your credit card on my phone to pay, then you'll tap your credit card on your phone to pay. And now you're opted into the system. Probably a lot of things like markets and stuff like that are, they're not going to do this because they want to have a dedicated device. They don't want to have somebody's personal iPhone and say, here, tap the iPhone. They've got a cash register that already has that. So this is going to be for the really small vendors that are ad hoc, that don't want to go out and buy a cash register. They don't want to buy a reader. That's why, it's been mentioned, swap meets or drug dealers. Of course, the drug dealer is going to have to get a Stripe account. And I have,
that's a dumb drug dealer.
Right, exactly. And it's a completely, the idea of whether, people want to be paid under the books. Well, that's already a question, that's got nothing to do with this. If people want to take credit cards, then this provides a way for people to take credit cards without any upfront investment in hardware if they already have a phone. So that's all this is. It's just a minor little thing. It's not earth shaking. It's just like Apple allows apps to use the camera and allow apps to use the microphone. The phone has an I/O device, which is an NFC reader, and now they're providing an API so that approved vendors can access that.
But the camera has no security features that Apple has been pimping to us for these many years, and the microphone doesn't have a security feature.
I'm not even
getting access to that piece. Is the part that I think is the bigger story here overall.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Truebill. Get control of your subscriptions at truebill.com/MacVoices. What do you spend on subscriptions each month? Most of us think we spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when we actually spend closer to $200 a month. On average, people are saving thousands a year with Truebill. Truebill lets you see all those subscriptions in one place. Keep the ones you want, cancel the ones you don't, right from the app. Truebill has over 2 million users and helped them save over $100 million. Like Truebill user Becca L., who says that, in my first week, I opened up $187 in unused recurring subscriptions. I'm obsessed. I never want to manage finances without Truebill again. Or Jeb D., who says, I saved at least $1,000 and the Truebill team does all the work. I have an alarming number of subscriptions. Truebill gives me complete visibility and power over all of it. With Truebill, you can put your savings on autopilot to save money without thinking about it. Truebill learns your habits and saves the right amount at the right time while helping you avoid overdraft fees. Start canceling your unused subscriptions at truebill.com/MacVoices. Go right now, truebill.com/MacVoices. It could save you thousands a year. truebill.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Truebill for supporting MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by New Relic. Monitor, debug, and improve your entire stack. Get all the details at newrelic.com/MacVoices. You've been there, I've been there. If you're a software engineer with responsibility for keeping systems up, you've gotten that 9 p.m. alert on your phone that something is wrong. Was there a bug in the last deploy? Is it the network, the cloud provider, or an issue with the server? No matter what's going on, you're now going to have to scramble from tool to tool, messaging person after person, trying to find and fix the issue. That won't happen if you've got New Relic. New Relic brings 16 different monitoring products to the table. products that you would otherwise have to buy separately. Now you can see across their entire software stack in one place, making it easy to pinpoint issues down to the line of code, so you know exactly why the problem happened and can resolve it quickly. Whether you are running a cloud-native startup or a Fortune 500 company, it takes just 15 minutes to set up New Relic in your environment. Dev and ops teams from companies like DoorDash, GitHub, and more than 14,000 other companies use New Relic. You should be too. That next 9 p.m. call is just waiting to happen. Get New Relic before it does. And you can get access to the whole New Relic platform and 100 gigabytes of data free forever. No credit card required. Sign up at newrelic.com/MacVoices. That's New Relic, NEWRELIC.com/MacVoices. newrelic.com/MacVoices. Thanks to New Relic for supporting MacVoices.
Well, I'm not sure what that is, because apps have already been able to access the NFC reader. As I mentioned, I've got an NFC device on my arm that does my blood sugar, and phones can read it if the reader's not broken like mine is. So, I'm not sure what exactly the technical thing that's happening here is. That maybe there's some kind of security in the card. So, it took like Stripe or something to, maybe it takes special software to read off of a card. I don't know what that is. But it's just a peripheral device. It's another IO device. And that's what operating systems, big thing they do is manage the peripherals attached to the computer and allow software to access it.
Yeah. Brittany,
right.
I
go back to the comment I made earlier that this is Apple just incrementally adding value to make their devices more attractive and more valuable to their users. I mean, I really need to study this thing and think about it, but because I'm not sure if it is just letting vendors use stuff in the iPhone, or if there is a play there for services to tap into this. So
the announcement just says will allow individual merchants to accept contactless payments in supported apps.
But it doesn't say specifically that Apple's not getting even a tiny sliver of revenue. So I understand what you're saying, Jim. I'm just saying, well, I haven't studied enough to know if this is not going to somehow result in more services revenue to Apple.
Well, there's nothing in any of the announcements today that say that, and I can't imagine how they would get Stripe and Square to decide to give them, give up a piece of their business.
Oh,
and what's sure to be
for Square, it's sort of. I mean, the trend is Square's been trying to get out, and they're now charging for their devices instead of giving away. I think dealing with that hardware is probably a pain in where they sit down every day. So
I'm sure they would like to be but they're not going to give up revenue over time to do that.
Well, so I'm not so sure. I mean, to the extent that Square was giving away stuff and they were somehow monetizing it out of the payment stream, you could easily imagine Apple grabbing that same percent. So at that point it's revenue neutral to Square. So it doesn't hurt them. Stripe is somewhat different because they're purely a pure play. At least as far as I'm aware, payments processor. They don't deal with hardware. So I think there might be a little bit harder, to justify getting a sliver of the revenue. But Apple is pretty damn big, and if they say, okay, well, it's going to cost you, 4 basis points in order to deal with us, take it or leave it, who knows how Collison is going to respond at I think that's his name, right? The CEO at Stripe, or is that the CEO at HubSpot? I forget. But
Joe Klaweka, that's who you're thinking of.
Yeah. So I think So again, I think that I think here I side with Jay. that Apple's a big company. It's not doing
Stop
this
the press.
It's not doing this just for the glory of itself. It's doing this to add another little slice of services revenue, which could grow to be a decent change in 3 to 5 years.
Okay,
right.
guys, we're not saying anything new, and I want to get Brittany in here. She's been patiently waiting. And Andrew, then I let you wrap up.
I was just going to say that my husband will definitely be using it. He sells commemorative shirts to firefighters. So he will go out and he'll have an option for NFC instead of just swiping cards that often don't work in the heat and smoke. So he's stoked. Selfishly, I just want to see if there are other apps that suddenly have more NFC interaction. In any way, will I be able to use this for automation, or is it only for payments?
Future will hold.
Oh, Brittany, we need to talk because I'm going to get you all fired up about using NFC for automation.
That's another show.
Might be an after dark one.
If
Andrew,
Jeff's tone
wrap
is
this
any
up.
indication, it's going to be after dark for sure.
Yeah, okay, I'm wrapping this up. My comment was just going to be the same as yours, Jeff, or sorry, Chuck. We can quibble this to death, and we have, but at the end of the day, what this is the iPhone can now be a payment terminal. Hooray, it's not more complicated than that. My comment before, as I said before, I also said that in the private chat, was what I'm personally looking towards is Apple opening the NFC feature for third parties. Are they doing this because they generally want to, or because they are trying to stave off regulator concerns? And that's just my thoughts.
Yep. The iPhone is becoming a POS.
I see what you did there.
Point of sale, not
And
the other POS.
Way to wrap it up.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to buying an NFT through NFC on my iPhone.
On a POS.
On a POS.
Yeah,
iPhone,
okay.
Yeah. There you go.
On that
Hey
note,
guys,
how many Bitcoin, how many Quatlus, do you want for exclusive rights ownership to this episode?
okay. Mark wins.
Yeah.
Mark wins.
Platinum.
Hey,
Platinum.
We got to get out of here, guys, because we're over time. But thank you all. This has been, you mostly behaved. So I'm going to go around the room and what you tell everyone where they can find you when you're not here being herded or attempting to be herded by me. And the cameras have gone on and off. Everybody's jumping all over the place. So I'm going to start up in the corner with Jim Ray. Jim, thank you for being here and sharing your comments. Where can folks find you?
Let's see, at ProView.com and also on Twitter at ProViewJim. And this Thursday, I'm going to do a presentation at Cocoa Heads Boston. But unless you're watching live, I guess you probably that'll already be over. But you can look on Meetup for the details about that if you see this live.
Great. Cocoa Heads Boston, I presume that's a developers group. I think that's probably
That's a developers group, yeah.
Okay. I didn't think it was a user group for the chocolate cereal.
It's not.
Okay. On that note, that fell flat. Guy, where can folks find you and your cat?
Yeah, well, I let her go. She was getting annoyed with me. Big surprise. Email address is podcast@vertshark.com, guy at mymac.com. Vertshark.com is the website. Vertshark is the YouTube channel. mymac.com and Guy's Daily Drive are the other two podcasts that I do, and they're both completely bonkers. Vertshark and MacParrot are the Twitter handles, and that's pretty much it.
Well, gee, is that all, Guy?
There's probably more, but I'm old now, so I can't always think of all of them at the same time.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Sure.
Jeff Gamet, he of the big white microphone. Thanks for sharing your information. Where can folks find you?
Well, Chuck, first, I'm always so excited and happy to be here. And okay, I'm also especially excited because I've really been missing you, Jay. So I'm so happy you're here. Okay, now on to the where you can find me stuff. Twitter and Instagram. I'm Gamet on both. YouTube.com/Gamet for my videos. Here on Tuesdays, Thursdays on The Big Show, Fridays on The Mac Show, many Thursdays on In Touch with iOS, because Dave doesn't learn and keeps inviting me back, and other shows. I get around, so I'm easy to find.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Andrew, it's good to have you back in the stable. Thanks so much for the article and the spirited discussion that came from it. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. I will try to be on more frequently. You can find me first and foremost writing for the Mac Observer, macobserver.com. We are writing about Apple, all technology, security, cryptocurrency, all these interesting things. On Fridays, Kelly mentioned at one point, we were doing Security Friday, where we try to give people security news and tips and, try to be helpful while also telling them why you should drink that weekend.
I was going to say, we've started offering alcohol pairings for each of our stories. So
great.
Yeah, sometimes it's, the house wine, and then sometimes it's moonshine. And, we try to make sure we manage those expectations accordingly.
Yeah. But just besides the Mac Observer, you can find me on Twitter, Andrew or not, where I just tweet just random stuff like songs, rants, whatever.
Well, you've turned me on to a couple good bands, so I appreciate it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Good to have you. Brittany Smith, she of the fuzzy microphone. Where can folks find you?
On Twitter, which I post very little. I'm ADD Liberator. And my YouTube, that's the word, is also ADD Liberator. And if somebody needs to find my website for some reason, it's Conquer.consulting.
Great. Thanks for being here, Brittany, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Kelly Guimont, where can folks find you?
I wasn't even there. Oh, sorry. You can find me 5 days a week hosting the Daily Observations podcast over at macobserver.com. You can occasionally, like this week, find me on a show called In Touch with iOS. I think it's hosted by David something. So you can sometimes find me over there. You can find me over at The Incomparable, where I host a show called I Want My MCU TV. And I also host one when Westworld is a thing called Greetings from the Uncanny Valley. And I pop up in other episodes about pop culture and nerdery there sometimes. I'm on the After Show with Mike and Kelly at aftershowpodcast.com. And the rest of the time, you can find me on Twitter as Verso.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. David Ginsburg, we didn't hear from you a lot tonight, but what we heard was very intelligent.
Well, it was hard to get in sometimes, but I got in when I could. You could find me on In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. As Kelly mentioned, she'll be on this week. And you also can find my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/DaveG65. I'm on the Mac Show on the Mad British Tech Network on Fridays with Chuck and Jeff. And I'm on Twitter at DaveG65. Great. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, David. Good to have you. Mark Fuccio, thank you for your financial wisdom. It's always interesting. I love the financial discussions when we get into them. Where can folks find you?
I don't know. I think I need to go into the witness protection program. I had very pleasurable and vigorous debate that I enjoyed with Jay and a little bit with Guy and certainly with Kelly and Jim. So I think I need to go hide under a bridge in San Jose someplace. So if they have Wi-Fi and Twitter, and I'm sure they'll have the super high speed, ultra wideband, nanometer wave, 5G. You can get me at Twitter at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio. Other than that, I had a great time tonight with everyone.
Great, thank you, Mark. Thank you. Last but not least, still on the screen, Mr. Jay Miller. Jay, you got to make this a regular thing. We have missed you.
Missed you.
But we'll see. I'm a busy person. I've got things to do. But if you want to catch me paying cash for getting my trash hauled, you can do so on Twitter.
You call Tony Soprano.
KJY Miller is the place on Twitter, as well as LinkedIn and all those other places. YouTube as well. Channel is growing, though my video count has not been. But there's reasons, and that's fine. Also, check out the show that I do every other week called Conduit on Relay FM, relay.fm/conduit, where it's the only productivity show where the words GTD are banned. But also, we spend a lot of time catching up with all of our friends around the community and helping one another get at least one more thing done in the next fortnight. Yeah, that's it. This is fun. Chuck, you're gonna have to catch me on my other show, Apple Opinions. It's the whispers of the internet.
Ooh, that sounds naughty. Hey, I want to say a couple extra thank yous. Warren had to go. So Warren, thank you for being here. We're sorry you couldn't use your usual outro, and definitely Jeff Butts, who had to bow out early in his very first appearance here. So we'll hope to get him back sometime in the near future.
I also think he's just looking for an excuse to bail. Like partway through, he realized what this is, and he's like, "Oh, look at the time! My mom's calling. Gotta go."
Jeff, I was trying to make it sound like he had an emergency or something, and give him.
And I just ruined it. I am so sorry.
Just blew that. Yeah,
right under the bus.
Hey, I also want to thank the chat room. I haven't had a chance to be in there much tonight because I've been dealing with all these crazy people, but there have been a lot of great conversations going on and a lot of points and counterpoints. So thank you all for being here. We've always really appreciated it. This is MacVoices Live. We do this Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We would love to have you join us in the chat room to make your points and counterpoints and throw comments and insults and whatever else you want to throw at us in the chat as well. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.